Hello and welcome along as the Cross Series League Racing Championship returns this week. It's round 6. Oh, hello, that's our leader. That's Peterson. And Ross is just headed past him. We've just seen him flash through there. And Turn 1 claims yet another victim. Round 10 of the championship, and everything to play for a few of our drivers. As
there it goes.
There we go. I think there's just all of a sudden the daylight has fallen off a cliff, and there's people absolutely everywhere trying to find their way round, off track, left, right, and centre. Ghastly. I'm hoping for certainly not a ghastly race. As he's, tell you what, he's really fast and coats up onto that high line. Cower opting for a much lower one as we go green here for the final time at Lima Land. I mean, when you saw those two coming together in your mirrors, surely it must have been a big weight gone from your shoulders.
I just kept my foot in it and I just kept going.
Spoken like a true pro. A bit of a question. Obviously, are you going to remain? You're going to come out in a week's time. We're going to see you out on track as we head to Valencia.
Yeah, I plan to be there unless we get another last-minute decision to go racing here in real life. That was why I wasn't here last week. We decided to make a last-minute decision to go do some racing, and yeah.
And how did you get on?
What's that?
How did you get on? Obviously, when you went, well, I say real-life racing a couple of weeks ago.
Trey, let me put this to you in American terms. How well did you do last weekend?
Oh, pretty good, I think.
Here come the lights. Let's get ready to go racing in Germany for the first time. And Clog, he's jumped the start there. He's going to incur a penalty. Bouncing across the curves, the pair of them. And Thompson's finally going to let the run on him. He's going to be up the inside of the run down to Kike turn. And surely this is going to be from the lead. He backs out of him. Schenkler runs wide. But Thompson's finally got it. But here comes Ham. He's right into it, and he wants to plate off Schenkler. He wants to rob Salt in his route right in these last stages. Now let's get ready to go racing from Bristol in the grand final of round 5 of the XSLR Championship. And there's bang and Stein into the wall early.
Welcome to race 3 of season 5 of the Cross Series League Racing here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. My name is Randall McCrew. I am joined today in the commentary booth by Daniel Hall with Jonathan Grabowski in our virtual production trailer. We're here at virtual Phoenix International Raceway, a 1 mile low bank tri-oval track located in Avondale, Arizona, near Phoenix. And the unique configuration about this track is that tri-oval dogleg is on the back straight and not the start-finish straight. Daniel, tell us, what is the unique challenge that Phoenix is going to provide these drivers?
Yeah, 2 different corners for sure. Turn 1, 2 a little higher banked and tighter radius. 3 and 4 flat, very low banked and long sweeping. So getting the car to work on both ends will be a challenge for these guys today.
So we're now in qualifying as we're on board with Kevin Irwin on his outlap. They're going to get 2 shots at the lap here. They get an outlap and then 2 chances, and then they'll have a cool down lap. So we should see these go by pretty quickly. The lap times around here is a high of 25 seconds. And we'll see a few drivers a little bit slower as we look at Adam Thompson. Speaking of slower drivers, going to probably be in the 26s. Adam actually shows himself pretty good out here on the ovals, and we'll see if he can get a competitive time in here for qualifying. Track position could be a pretty big thing here. Daniel, how hard is it to make passes on this track?
I would expect it to be pretty difficult. We won't see the level of pack racing we saw at the last time we were on an oval at Daytona. But there is some draft in play, and you could use that to get a good run and make a move. But it could be pretty difficult to pass.
You see drivers already setting some times in the mid 26s. As they get some heat into those tires, we'll see those times come down a little bit. We may not see many drivers into the 25s during qualifying just because there's not enough time to get those tires into a good working range. But during the race, you should see that pace pick up quite a bit, especially as they burn off some fuel. What do you think the pit strategy is going to look like today, Daniel?
I don't know. We might see some undercut and then try to stretch the fuel window at the end of the race. So you get in the pits early and get out and save fuel at the end, or flip it around and save fuel at the beginning and then toward the end of the race go flat out.
Now, since this is oval racing, caution flags are definitely a thing. How do you think we'll see many caution flags, or do you think it'll be like maybe a one-time thing that we'll see, or is it just too hard to say?
It might be hard to predict. We could definitely see some a flurry of cautions here at the beginning as everyone just kind of settles in, but I would expect it to settle out at some point and probably have a long green flag run, just once tires get up to temperature and everyone kind of settles into where they're going to run, but then maybe pick back up at the end and might even get a green light checkered, be a caution really late.
So we look now at Roger Shank on top of the leaderboard with a 26.07, and Adam Thompson showing some speed, only 2 100ths of a second off him. So he's very close here up front. 4 100ths behind them. Jake Luther in P3. We're on board with the 37 of Jimmy Howitt now running. If you have to set a time, I think I'm having some issues with my timing tower. I'm waiting for Jimmy to set a time still. It's like maybe he's struggling for grip there a little bit in turns 1 and 2. Probably has some cold tires that he's still dealing with. Runs it down through the dog leg. You're just going to have a lift here going into turn 3 as you come through to turn 4. You hear him really working that throttle, trying to keep the car right on the edge of grip. He comes across the line to set his first lap time, and that's going to be good for P9 with a 26.66. And looks like Jimmy's got his hands full out there.
Yeah, you heard him have to work the throttle on his first lap. We'll see if the second lap's any smoother and any faster as he comes out of turn 4 here.
And you see the car jump there as he comes out of turn 4, and I want to assure the viewers that that's just a graphical glitch. We did quite a bit of investigation during the warm-up, and we could not detect that bump there in the onboard cameras, but we only see it from the external view. So just a graphical glitch. The cars are not really hitting a bump that big, so we shouldn't see anything resulting from that. As we watch Josh Fogg come across the line to set another time, and it does not look like he improves on his 26.24. So either he's already finished or just was not faster that second time around. Tim Cox from the UK coming in, taking a nice late apex there, coming out of turn 4 to get a good run off, comes across the line, and also does not improve. I think that actually was just an additional lap, get some practice in, and we'll bring up your qualifying results as the grid comes onto the track. Then we have Roger Shank with a 26.07 on pole position, 2 100ths behind him, Adam Thompson in the 244. Jake Luther in P3, Bobby Ross P4, Josh Clogg starting P5, Jimmy Howitt on the outside of the 3rd row, Tim Cox going to be on the inside of the 4th row, Kevin Irwin on the outside of row 4, inside of row 5, Jeremy Barber, outside Jake Ham, Justin Barrera in 11th, and then Chet Duranick in 12th. And that rounds out the field. It's a very small field here this season for the oval section of this league. Now, this league runs all 4 disciplines, and next week we'll see them here at Phoenix again on the infield road course. So some of the things that they learned tonight will be able to be applied to the race next week. they're going to have to deal with that very tight and tricky infield section when they come back here in 1 week's time. Any predictions for the race, Daniel? Who do you think is going to win?
If I had to put money on it, I would go with our point leader, Josh Clogg. Showed up pretty well in Daytona Oval and won Daytona Road Course, and I think he really looks forward to having a solid run tonight.
We saw in practice Jake Luther was at the top of the leaderboard, so I think we'll see a good run out of him. He definitely has good track positioning starting in P3. Adam Thompson also showing really good speed there in qualifying, not very far off Roger Shank, and will have good track position there in P2. Should be an interesting start. We'll see how many people will want to play it safe and how many people are going to get their elbows out early and try to make some spots up. As we mentioned, it could be kind of hard to pass here in these cars on a track like this.
Yeah, and very tight qualifying times. I mean, under a tenth of a second separating the top four. Close battles, 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th. Could lead to some really tight racing all night.
The start's going to be very important here. They're going to have to deal with these cold tires coming into turn 1 too wide. Do you think we're going to have any issues there in turn 1, or do you think they'll make it all the way back to turn 3?
It depends. We'll see if there's some give and take, and we'll see who gives and is patient and who might capitalize on that and take some, get a cheap spot here early or so.
We're scheduled for 80 laps, so patience early on could be the key to victory, as we see the pack coming into turn 3 now behind the iRacing pace car. We see the track temperature is not too high right now. It's about 90 degrees with a 28 degrees Celsius air temperature. And the pace car is going to dive into the safety of the pit lane, and Roger Shank is going to go straight away. They're underway. Adam Thompson tucks in behind. They're too wide for third and fourth. And on back there, continue to be too wide. Roger Shank gets a good run and a good start there. It runs a little bit wide, and we see Adam Thompson spins coming off turn 2. Just loses it on his own and manages to keep it out of the wall. Yellow flag is out, and he'll get that car back onto the pavement and rejoin at the back of the field, and we'll try that start all over again. And Daniel, what did you see happen there that maybe caused Adam to lose the rear end?
Yeah, it looked like he just lost it coming out of 2, but looked like also going into 1 in the middle of the corner. He kind of had to check up, got a little better of a run than he thought he was going to on Roger Shank, and a little accordion effect there, and then he must have just tried to get too much of it coming out of 2. Luckily, he kept it out of the wall and didn't seem to have any damage.
We'll keep our eyes on the entry to pit lane here to see if we have any early takers. We saw a strategy like that work for Ashley Lyle in race 1 at Daytona, where she came in on that very early caution flag and topped off the fuel and was able to make a much shorter pit stop and gain some track position and end up at the front on the restart and keep that position until the end of the race. But looks like this time we have no takers, so they're going to continue to pace around behind the pace car for a couple laps here. We'll see them grid back up and take the green flag once again. This time, Roger Shank is going to lead Bobby Ross instead of Adam Thompson. Adam's going to have a lot of ground to make up now, back in 12th position.
Yeah, that early spin doesn't do him any favors. Had great track position from qualifying, but now he's going to have to work his way up through the field.
We'll see if Adam can temper his pace with some patience as he works his way through the field and maybe get some good opportunistic moves done early and then settle in and try to make his way back up to the front of the pack. Roger Shank hoping to have another good start, and now everybody's seen what he's done on the first start, so it's going to be, we're going to see if he tries to change it up or if he's going to go immediately as the pace car pulls in again. But we should be going green in, I believe, 2 more laps. Lights are off on the pace car, so that means they should be gridding up now. Too wide to be going green next time by. My apologies. And we'll see if we have another similar start here out of Roger Shank and if he's able to pull away up front early again and catch Bobby Ross sleeping on the outside.
Yeah, we might see some tricks early, but you don't want to empty that bag of tricks for later in the race if you find yourself in a late race situation on the restart.
You're absolutely right. So we'll see what happens here as the pace car enters turn 3, leading the pack 2 by 2. It's going to come in through turn 4. We'll see the pace car dip down into the safety of the pit lane, and then it'll be on the leader as the win we go. There goes the pace car. Roger waiting this time, and now he's going. Green flag is in the air again. Roger Shank able to pull off and pull up in front of P2. We see them P3 back, all too wide as they go into turn 1 and turn 2. So far, so good. Nobody having any issues. We're going to get through the dog leg here. The pack's starting to thin out a little bit, and we're seeing 3 wide into turn 3, and they quickly back. You see the 340 car that quickly backs out. Besides, discretion is the better part of valor, and instead of going in there 3 wide, they go 2 wide. And the 19 car ahead there of Jake Luther and Josh Clogg, both fighting 2 wide through 1 and 2. They need to sort this out here. You see a lot of 2 wide action here going down the back straight through the dog leg, coming into turn 3. Right now, Josh Clogg has the lead there over Jake Luther, but Jake Luther is getting a good run through the middle of the corner, and now they're all single file. We'll see if we can clean this up and maybe try to catch those leaders.
Yeah, Jake Luther looks like he got trapped on the inside and might give up another spot or 2 here. His car's going to be outside as we go back to the battle for the lead between Roger Shank and Bobby Ross.
Bobby Ross, when it comes to I-rating, is a little bit stronger there than Roger Shank, but when it comes to league racing, I-rating doesn't mean very much, but he's there lurking behind Roger Shank with an eye full of his rear wing, trying to keep right behind him. Slipstream, I don't think, Daniel, is slipstream much of a big deal here? Is there much draft on the track this small?
You're not going to see the major runs like you will at a Daytona or Talladega, but you will get some advantage, and the draft will be able to keep it close. But as soon as you poke your nose out, you're losing all of that benefit, so it doesn't necessarily mean it is a guaranteed move.
You see Adam Thompson back here now has made his way up to 9th position, but he has hit a big gaggle of cars in this pack ahead of him, led right now by Jake Luther. They really need to sort this out. Adam looking for any opportunity he can to try to make up some of those spots that he lost on that lap 1 incident. They get themselves nice and cleaned up for the front straight, and then the rest of the lap is just kind of, for lack of a better term, a gaggle. As you see drivers taking different lines, and now Adam going to make a move on the outside through the dog leg here on Jake Ham. Has a nose ahead going into turn 3, and let's see if he can keep that momentum up there on the outside. He's going to have a bit of slipstream help there from Tim Cox ahead. And then Jake Ham now closes that gap between the two, and he gets the pass done coming across the start-finish straight. And now eyes forward at Jake Ham. Can he get another one on the next lap? He really needs to get up there to the front to reestablish the position that he lost.
Yep. Oh, he looks to the inside here on Jake. See if he can complete the move. He passed. He had to move to the outside last lap. Oh, did he almost get into the wall there? Got really close to that outside wall down the front stretch.
Adam Thompson using every inch of the track, trying to find his way around Jake Ham. Now, Daniel, you made an interesting point. Last time when he made a move in turn 3, it was around the outside. This time he tried the inside, and it seems like the car got a little bound up there, and he wasn't able to get the power down. Do you think the outside line is the preferred one for making a move in turn 3?
I think it might be. The inside line's definitely shorter. It's a shorter way around, but you can get trapped down there and not be able to carry the momentum that you would on the outside.
And you see look at now a battle for the lead. Bobby Ross trying to take it to Roger Shank. We see him sticking his nose in there and making sure that Roger knows, here I am not going anywhere, and you're not running away with this race. Trying to get a move done there on the back straight and into turn 3. Doesn't quite work out for him, but he's going to be set up here for another good run as they come down through the dog leg once more. To see Roger really blending up to the line much sooner than Bobby does. Bobby's going to follow Roger's line through the corner this time, running a little bit higher on exit. You see Roger cuts down near the pit entry just a little bit more, and Bobby Ross just looking for an opportunity, trying to set up a run.
Yeah, and you might also run into some aero push in these high downforce cars as you're following another car that closely through a corner. As they go back down into 3 and 4, Bobby Ross looks to the inside, and Roger Shank just kind of moves down and take that line away.
So when these cars experience aero push, could you describe what that feels like in the cockpit?
Yeah, you'll go in the corner, you'll turn and think the car's set, and then all of a sudden the front end it feels like it gets light and starts sliding up the track, and you might lose some momentum and just not conducive to making moves.
Now that seems to me like it would maybe overheat the front tires a little bit. How long does that take to kind of settle itself back down once you have one of those moments?
It should only be a lap or two if you back off and let the car equalize the tire temperatures again, as we see Adam Thompson look to the inside.
Adam Thompson with the inside move here, going in through the dog leg, down the back straight, and into turn 3 on Tim Cox. Tim's going to have more momentum there on the outside, but it looks like he's going to have the car still alongside there going into turn 1. It should be able to clear him here pretty easily, and he gets a little bit of a slide outside, loses a lot of momentum there on the exit of turn 2, and Tim Cox is able to rally, and Jake Ham is there lurking too. He wants that spot back from Adam. And you see the car is bouncing around quite a bit. Maybe Jake Ham suffering from a little bit of that aero wash like you were describing, and having some trouble keeping the car onto a line. Adam Thompson now fighting to defend against Jake Ham. Is going to have to set up a move on Tim Cox once again and try another time to get around him.
Yeah, we saw that inside. It looked like he had the move done and just couldn't pull it off. That's going to be an interesting thing to look for the rest of this race. If there can be a move to the inside, it looks like the outside might be the way you're going to have to make a move around your competitors here.
We watch now from Adam's onboard. We see Tim Cox was running just a little bit high there, pushed out just a little bit, was able to keep his foot in the throttle, did not lose much momentum. Was now Adam's taking a very tight entry into turn 3, maybe trying to stay out of that aero push zone like you were describing earlier. But Jake Ham is all over his rear end and is now sticking his nose in and going to look for a move in turn 1. Does not get it done, backs out a little bit. Adam looks very, very strong on the entry to turn 1, and he kind of loses it a little bit in turn 2. So do you think maybe it's the setup working against him, or is he possibly overdriving? But here we go, inside move in turn 3, and now he's going to make it stick.
We'll see. I think Tim's still going to have the advantage taking the momentum on the outside. I think Adam gets into that corner a little bit differently than everybody else. You see him kind of jab the brakes a little bit. I think that gets the car set. Allows you to drive it in deeper and make a move toward the front at the beginning. As we look at the leaders now.
Bobby Ross with another inside move here at turn 3 and 4. Trying to get around Roger Shank, but don't count out that yellow car of Jimmy Howitt, who's been lurking back there for the entire race, just waiting for something to happen. And now he is definitely a part of this fight. So Bobby Ross not only trying to get around Roger Shank, is also defending himself against Howitt. And there in P4, Josh Clogg, your points leader, waiting for something to happen, probably just saving his equipment a bit, saving those tires, and trying to get something out of this near the end of the race, and just playing the waiting game now. Look, we see Bobby Ross down on the inside of turn 1, and I think you're right. I think the outside is going to be the preferred line all race. You get a good run early into the corner, and then as you come through the exit of the second corner on each end of the oval, the cars really seem to bind up, and they can't really get the power down too much. You see Bobby Ross pushing out and very close racing here for the lead. Now Jimmy Howitt right on the bumper of Roger Shank. We got a 5-way fight for the lead now, as we see Bobby Ross slides up, gets a little bit loose, slides up and bumps into Jimmy Howitt, knocks him, makes some light contact with the wall. And hopefully we'll get that replay pulled up, and Daniel, you can walk us through what happened there.
Yeah, it looks like Bobby Ross just pushed up a little bit, got into Jimmy Howitt, and it put him into the wall. Get another look at it here. He entered really low and behind another car, and just didn't have front end to make that corner and stay out of the 37-inch Jimmy Howard.
But you saw that he had a lot of wheel in the car. He was turning the wheel quite a lot, and the car was still not turning left. Now, is that the aero wash you were talking about earlier, or the aero push you were talking about earlier?
That is a prime example of aero push. You just go in there and you think you have the car set, and then all of a sudden it loses the front end, and that kind of stuff can happen.
We see Jake Ham dipping into the pit lane. Is going to be the first of our takers here for the pit stop. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to have enough room in that tank to fill it back up to make it for the rest of the race, but he will certainly have a much shorter pit stop if he has to come back in again. And it looks like, and yes, he is the only car that is taken to the pit lane on this caution flag. So he's going to lose a little bit of track position, but not too much. And now we see the cars go up on jack stands and they're taking tires. I'm a little surprised. I figured they'd have enough tires for 80 laps. Daniel, do you think many of these drivers will be taking tires this race?
I don't think it's a necessity, but if you're gonna have a free pit stop basically, and you're already gonna be kind of behind the 8-ball and starting shotgun on this restart, you might as well take tires, and then you have at least fresher ones, 27, 26 lap fresher ones than your competitors later on in this race. That could come into play for sure. But I definitely think the early pit stop, if we have a green flag run that goes long and it necessitates green flag pit stops, we could definitely see that as an advantage, as less time on pit road.
And he'll be able to wait much longer to make that pit stop too, so he may be able to benefit from a caution.
Yep.
And those fresher tires means he's going to be able to carve through this field pretty easily, you'd think. He's going to have to wait a lap or two for those tires to come up to temperature. He might be able to do something here on the pace laps to get those tires up to temp, but really you need to put a load through them in order to get any sort of temperatures. We see the pack now 2x2. The lights on the pace car are off. We will see them going back to the green flag this time as the pace car enters turn 3. Roger Shank still in the lead over Bobby Ross. Jake Luther now P3. Josh Clogg P4. Adam Thompson has worked his way all the way up to 5th place with Tim Cox. Adam Thompson's down in 6th place with Tim Cox along inside of him in P5. Pace car is off and into the pit lane. Roger waiting, and now he's going. Green flag is in the air again. We are racing once again at Phoenix. Roger seems to really have these starts figured out. He's able to cover off P2 every time. We see 3 wide in turn 1. A little bit of contact there between the 19 and the 244, and we have the yellow flag out again. It looks like an incident back behind them. These cars are going to slow down and regather behind the pace car, and we'll try to get that replay pulled up and see exactly what happened back further in the field. And it looks like the 7. Ooh. Jimmy Howard got into the back of the 7, possibly. The 7 was a little bit slow on entry, it looks like. Daniel, what do you think happened here?
Yeah, I think just might be just a racing incident. 2 different entry speeds and just cars that come together heading into a funnel of turn 1.
We're on board with Jimmy Howard now. We're going to get a bird's eye view of what exactly happened there. And yeah, it's really hard to pick out what happened exactly, but that's going to be bad news for Jimmy Howard, Kevin Irwin, and Chet Duranick. So we see all 3 of them on pit lane. And now we see the leaders coming in, some of the leaders coming into pit lane. We got Tim Cox, Bobby Ross, both on pit lane. And everybody else, it looks like, staying out. So a good mixture of pit strategies here. Going to make for a very interesting race if we see more yellow flags, and even more so interesting if we don't see any. We saw Bobby Ross there had to back up a little bit. He overshot his pit box there. The 42 of Chet Duranick coming out, and the 7 of Kevin Irwin. Jake Ham in the pit lane as well, as we see Tim Cox come out. Now some of those cars got repairs and from that incident and are back out on track, but I think maybe Jimmy Howard is going to call it quits here. We don't see him coming back out on the track just yet, and it does not look like he is currently in the car, so he may just be hanging it up for today and going to come back next week to try his hand at the road course.
He may just be towing. It looked like he got hung up on the fence there when Chet Duranic made contact and kind of sent him up into the air. So he might just be towing, which is unfortunate because then he might lose another lap here once they get back going green.
You see the lights are off on the pace car again. Roger Shank going to lead this time. Josh Clogg, and then right behind him is the man that started at P2 and then had a very early incident. Adam Thompson has made his way up from 12th now to 3rd with the help of some of these caution flags and some of the incidents and some good clean driving on his behalf. P4 is going to be Jake Luther. So we'll see if anybody can figure out how to get Roger on one of these starts and try to make him go into turn 1 too wide. But it's very hard there on the outside to keep your eye on the leader and figure out exactly when he's going to go. The cars are now coming into turns 3 and 4. We'll see the pace car drop down in the pit lane and see what Roger has in store for us this time. He's going to go right away again. Adam Thompson's going to actually get a good run here on the inside of P2 to get a move into turn 1. We'll see if he can make it stick. He drives it very deep in there, then it has to back out and gives all that ground back up and ends up behind Josh Clogg for P2. Adam's really being aggressive here on entry for some of these corners to try to get moves done, and it's just not working out for him.
He almost had it there, but yeah, it doesn't seem to be able to seal the deal with those moves. And that start really spread this field out a little bit more than some of the previous ones. It looked like that early jump kind of caught a few guys napping.
And it's very easy to do, and that's what you're kind of looking for in your mirror whenever you do one of these starts, to see, did I catch anybody sleeping if I go here, if I go later? Trying to figure out where your competitors are looking and try to set up for something at the end of the race. We're now looking back from Josh Clogg at Adam Thompson as we come down the front straightaway. Roger Shank in a pretty comfortable position right now. It's like Josh Clogg having a little bit of trouble there on entry. He's going to surrender a few tenths there to Adam Thompson. You got a nice three-way battle here for the podium, and not too far behind there, Jake Luther and Justin Barrera. Justin Barrera's had a very quiet race, and suddenly we find him here in the top 5. So keeping your nose clean can go a long way in these oval races. And right now, Justin Barrera making good on that up in P5. Kind of just hanging on here. Maybe he's playing the waiting game. I've seen him in many road leagues. He's a master at fuel saving, so he could be doing that as well. What do you think is going through Justin's mind right now, Daniel?
I think he's just really happy that he's made up 6 spots from his 11th place starting position. Just being patient. You see him move for the lead, maybe? Nope, Josh Clogg not able to get there and has to back out of it.
And we're seeing constantly these moves. People are driving in really, really deep into turn 1 to try to get a move done. Almost like they're trying to pull off a slide job if it's a dirt oval, and it's just not sticking. So I think a few of these drivers need to recalibrate and try to figure out something different. Now Adam Thompson's going to have the outside line going into turn 1. Maybe going to see him get the job done. He's leaving a lot of space and giving the spot back to Josh Clogg. Josh Clogg able to keep that P2 away, but Adam Thompson is right there on his bumper.
Yeah, to get an outside move to work, and you're really going to have to stick out there for a few corners and be able to hold the guy on the inside down just to kill his momentum.
And so what you're saying is maybe that Adam went a little too high there through turns 1 and 2, as we see Jeremy Barber having a little bit of issues here, a little slow going through the dog leg. Bobby Ross going to try to set up an outside move into turn 3. So if I understand you right, what you're saying is Adam left just a little too much space, and what you want to do is run closer to their door and try to get them bound up.
Yeah, you can do that, and that would definitely help you if you're to the outside of them. It's a delicate balance there, because if you drive too close, especially this early, you run the risk of making contact and ending both of your races.
We're watching now Josh Clogg really trying to work over Roger Shank, and it seems like they're taking very, very different tacks into these corners. Roger Shank seems to be much slower on entry, but then gets the throttle down much earlier and is able to get a run off the corner and stay out there. But this time Josh Clogg has stayed alongside of him. He's going to be on the inside for turn 3. Can he make this move stick? And it looks like Roger carries a little bit momentum this time into the into the entry, and a little bit of touch, but no harm, no foul. As Adam Thompson tags the back end of Josh Clog. Now he's going to be on the outside of turn 1. This is exciting stuff. Three-way battle for the lead right now, coming off turn 2. Josh Clog is making that inside work suddenly.
Yeah, and you saw it there. That's the risky run of trying to pinch your competitor off. As we see another close battle out of 4. Oh, Adam Thompson looks to the inside. Let's see if he can make an inside move stick.
With a very good crossover move, Adam Thompson does get it done and then slides up and is going to run very close to the wall, but he's going to keep a lot of momentum. Now he's going to be on the outside through the dog leg and into turn 3. Roger Shank with a very good run out of turn 2 is got a strong run, got a nose ahead here through turn 3, and turns 4 going to come off tighter. Adam Thompson's going to have the run here. He's going to lead that lap. Adam Thompson, your official leader for 1 lap over Roger Shank, the first one we've seen other than Shank, and now he's running very high through 1 and 2, and seems to have found something out there, running that super high line.
Yeah, he is using all of the track, carrying as much momentum as he can just to get any outside move to work. And yeah, he's taking the lead, and looks like Roger Shank's going to lose another spot to Josh Clog.
Suddenly now Roger Shank having issues. Maybe he's overheated his tires and lost some grip, and Josh Clog is going to take P2 away from him. And now he's going to fall back into the clutches of Jake Luther and Justin Barrera. And for any of you road racers that are watching, this is one of the big differences between road racing and oval is you can really search around the track. As we see, was that Jake Luther diving down into pit lane, going to make a green flag pit stop. So some of these drivers that didn't pit during yellow are now going to have to come in for some fuel.
Yeah,
but
they must
on
be,
oval.
there must be a fuel window where they can finally take fuel and take enough fuel to make it to the end of the race.
You have to think it's going to be a pretty big penalty having to take fuel during a green flag instead of coming in during a yellow. So we'll see where he comes out and how many laps down he ends up being from this. I think just 1 lap. But now your leader, Adam Thompson, over Josh Clog, Roger Shank in 3rd, Justin Barrera up to 4th place. And as I was saying, on oval, you can kind of search around for grip. There's no one specified line through corners. And you really have to be adaptive, and that's what we've seen Adam Thompson do, is maybe a little bit of a brush with the wall up there. We see a little bit of smoke. I think maybe Adam Thompson got that right rear into the wall.
Yeah, he's crinkled up that right rear quarter panel a little bit as he got into the wall out of 4. It's the risky run. You're going to carry a lot of speed, but push it a little too hard and you end up in the wall.
And we see sometimes you can get away with this. Adam Thompson's going to surrender the lead to come into the pits, maybe going to go ahead and get that damage fix, as it also looks like Roger Shank is going to follow him in, so they're going to be racing each other as they come out, and we'll see who has the better pit stop here. But coming in from the lead for a green flag pit stop, and now if you're one of those drivers that pit early, this could be your opportunity.
Yeah, if they get a caution here, their track position's definitely going to be a benefit. We'll see how long they can go, if maybe they can get a lap on the guys that have to pit under green.
Jake Ham and Bobby Ross are 2 of those drivers that pit on the last caution. Josh Clog now with a 1.75 second gap over them. Sitting pretty now. He's got, a lot of clean air around him. Doesn't have people fighting with him. We'll see how long he can make his fuel tank go before he comes into the pits. But right now, effectively, Jake Ham is your leader. Yes, Josh Clog is in the pits now. So Jake Ham and Bobby Ross are going to take over the top 2 spots. And Tim Cox is going to be there in P3.
Yeah, the guys that came in and took fuel under that last caution, they're cycled their way back to the top. We'll see if they can hold some of these recent entries to pit road a lap down.
Now, we weren't able to see if anybody took tires, but if there's any cold tires out there, we could see somebody maybe have some issues with them cold tires, as the lights on the cars now come on. As the sun is starting to set here in Avondale, Arizona, and to see the track lights are on. We are currently on a lap 52 of 80, so we're well past halfway. They should have plenty of light to finish this race, but we do see the headlights on. Things shouldn't be too bad for the drivers, though. This place pretty well lit up anyway at night, so should not be a huge factor. But Bobby Ross looks like he's playing the waiting game here with Jake Ham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think light's going to be the issue with the sun going down, but we will definitely see that track grip come up as the cools off, as the sun goes down. That might open up a few more grooves, so that we might see moves being made later on in this race.
So do you think with the track temperature going down, going to increase the grip, do you think that'll open up the inside move a little bit more?
It could. You could definitely see the drivers like Adam Thompson, who's been really aggressive getting into turn 1 and 2. That would definitely be a benefit to him to be able to make a more aggressive move, and it might stick a little better later on.
So we see Bobby Ross here. He's not really looking to make a move. Do you think maybe these two can make it to the end of the race by saving some fuel here and just taking it easy and not fighting each other? Because they got a nice 4-second lead right now over Tim Cox. If it goes the rest of the way green, do you think these guys have to stop again?
I'm not sure on the fuel numbers. It could be close. I can definitely see these guys working together. They don't look like they're going to race too hard right now. It doesn't do them much good to lead with 20 laps to go or so. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them maybe swap positions here as the rear car gets to not have much of a penalty for being off the throttle more and using up less tires. Some of the benefit of that draft.
So we'll keep our eyes on this and see how this develops. So Jake Luther here in 7th place in the number 19 car, trailing behind Josh Clogg. They are 6th and 7th currently on track, but we'll see how that ends up being. Only 3 cars currently on the lead lap due to the pit cycle. Those 2 cars those 3 cars all pit during previous yellows, and the rest of the field pit during green flags, giving them that lap. So it'll be interesting to see if those drivers can make it to the end of the race. I know Tim Cox was in the pit lane pretty early, so I'm fairly confident he'll have to stop for fuel. But those top 2, they could be sitting in a pretty good position right now. It kind of takes away the excitement from the race right now. It's coming more of a fuel strategy race, but all it's going to take is 1 yellow to completely change the landscape here.
Yeah, but if these 3 leaders really catch a yellow before they need to pit, they will be able to maintain their track position before the lap cars get waved around. So they'll come out looking like heroes if they catch a caution just right.
So right now, Bobby Ross doing the math in his head. You can almost see the calculations going on there in the cockpit if he'll have to stop again for fuel or if he can make it the rest of the way. Jake Ham playing the waiting game behind him, probably saving some fuel. We'll see him complete this lap. We're going to be 20 to go now. 20 to go. What enters your mind here as you enter the last quarter of this race?
Well, you got this far. If you're up in the lead, you're thinking you've done everything right so far. You might be banking on another yellow and kind of hoping and praying that comes. But if you're one of those lap down cars, you gotta hope that these leaders might run into trouble.
And we saw in that big pile up there in turn 3 where they involved 3 cars, Chet Duranick was one of those cars. He was able to come in and get repairs. Now he's sitting in P4. He kind of I don't want to say failed his way up because he was kind of an innocent victim there in that incident, but he's turned tragedy into quite a story here.
Yeah, sometimes the cards you're dealt look like bad cards, and then all of a sudden you hit the flop, hit the turn in the river right, and come out looking like a hero. I think that that incident allowed him to be more creative on his strategy, get ahead of some of the other guys, and we might see that actually be a benefit in the long run as we get to the end of this race.
So Chad Duranick now playing the role of the gambler. He knew when to hold him and took that repair, and now sitting good in P4. Bobby Ross has pulled out quite a bit of a gap here. 7/10 over Jake Ham. Makes you wonder if Jake Ham maybe had an incident in one, or a little bit of a slide in one of these corners and had to catch the car and is now giving up that draft, not going to be nearly as effective back there at these speeds, 7/10 back. So his fuel saving days might be over. We'll see now. Bobby Ross can make it to the end, or if he's going to have to dip in the pit lane. But 15 laps to go next time by. These laps are, that number is getting smaller and smaller every time. So we'll have to see if those drivers need to come in for fuel or not. Right now, Jake Luther trailing behind Josh Clogg. He's been in this position for a while now. Josh Clogg is a pretty good guy to follow. As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, your points leader, Josh Clogg, now sitting in P6 behind Adam Thompson. Adam Thompson's got quite a gap over those two. He's also got about 7/10. So if he's going to be watching his mirror to see if those two start fighting, and if they do, you'll be able to see the grin from here as he drives away from you.
Yeah, at this point, if you're one of these cars, you really just need to focus on maximizing your corner exits and not losing speed, but also not really getting into a fight. You might have a chance here if they have an issue or one of the leaders runs out of fuel. As we look, and Josh Clogg looks to the inside, and Adam Thompson just carries so much speed with that outside lane.
And I think your prediction was right with the change in the track temperature. That inside line looks like it's having a bit more grip now, and Josh Clogg was able to close that gap pretty quickly, and he's going to get this move done here over the course of a lap. They're going to go too wide in turn one again. Track temperature was 89 degrees when we started. It's 84 degrees now, and just a few degrees seems to be making a huge difference. Josh Clogg really making that inside move, inside line work, as Adam Thompson's going to lose it to Jake Luther as well, giving up 2 spots in one corner. Still trying to hang out there on the outside, but we've seen him change his line. How much longer do you think it's going to take him to realize that he maybe needs to change it again?
I think he's just saw those 2 cars go by, and now he knows, hey, I got to go to the inside. Oh,
Adam Thompson, hard lick with the wall there, gets the right side, primarily the right rear there in the wall there at the exit of turn 2. Does some pretty significant damage, and he's really going to have to feel it out over the next lap or two to see how the car is handling that damage. The Radical, notorious for being very fragile. So you see the NASCAR Cup cars and the Xfinity cars get out there and hit the wall and be just fine sometimes, but these Radicals do not take to that very well. You can see Adam Thompson really off the pace now after that heavy lick in the turn 2 wall. He's really struggling.
Yeah, he's fallen back quite a bit. He might even pit here if he thinks he's going to lose a couple more spots. But that's unfortunate. That outside lane just didn't seem to have what it took to stay with that inside lane anymore, and ends up costing him.
You see 9 laps to go. Jake Ham has now fallen back to 1.4 seconds behind Bobby Ross. Bobby has a quite commanding lead here. As long as they can make 9 more laps, they're going to be in a position to have the top of this podium. Bobby Ross should have it in hand pretty well. You'd think with 9 laps to go, now 8, if they weren't going to make their field number, they'd know it already and would have already come to the pit lane. But they could just be waiting for that caution. So it's going to be real nail biting down there on top of those pit boxes, crunching those numbers, trying to figure out if they can make it to the end or not. But it seems like with Bobby Ross's pace, he already knows if he's going to make it or not, and tend to think that he is going to be fine.
Yeah, he's got to be looking up at the track, and then for a little bit of the lap, and then the rest of the lap, his eyes are glued to his fuel gauge. As you see Roger Shank now closing in on Adam Thompson after Adam got into the wall. I think Adam's going to lose a spot here pretty easily.
Roger making that inside work, gets a little bit loose there, coming over the pit entry. Now going to have the inside run on turn 1 over Adam Thompson. Adam kind of struggling after making that heavy contact. To see Roger pull ahead there at the apex, carrying more apex speed and getting the throttle down earlier. He's going to close off the move here on the entry to turn 3 and have it completed. Roger Shank was dominant for so much of this race, and now he's back. Oh, we see a caution flag. There's a trouble on the front straight, and it looks like Kevin Irwin there and maybe Tim Cox had a bit of a coming together, and Roger Shank got collected in it, didn't back out soon enough. And 5 laps to go, we have a yellow flag. Dana, what happened here?
I'm gonna look at this replay, and Tim Cox just hit the brakes coming out of that corner, and nowhere for Jake Luther to go. And then those other 3 guys just caught up in the wreck. That was interesting. I wonder why Tim had to make an abrupt move.
Makes you wonder if maybe he got a little loose there coming through the exit of turn 4 and had to check up hard to keep the car from spinning and go on board with him now. Maybe Daniel, you can see exactly what happened.
Is he trying to get into the pits?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe he was trying to make a pit entry. It sounded like the engine, it didn't sound like it was out of fuel. Let's see, Bobby Ross and Jake Luther both now in the pit lane, so we'll have to figure out post-race what happened exactly there with Tim Cox. But I think you're right. I think maybe he was not going to make it on fuel and decided to come in and just got the entry a little bit wrong and caught Jake Luther off guard. We see Bobby Ross pulls into his pit stall, does not overshoot this time, gets it perfectly, as they're going to refuel the car. So a fortunate caution coming out for him. They're still going to have the lead. They're going to have the likes of Josh Clogg, Jake Luther, Justin Barrera now back on the lead lap behind them.
Yeah, but they get essentially a free pit stop without giving up any track position to the drivers that pitted during the green flag.
We're hearing now that Tim was running out of fuel and was trying to get into the pit lane, and that would cause his car to slow down. And like you said, Jake Luther just had nowhere to go. It was much too late for him to really react to anything. You're fully expecting the car in front of you to be going at that point. So to have one not even going, but actually slowing down is gonna, not really give you much of a chance to react. So unfortunate turn of events for Jake Luther, but it looks like he's going to stay out there with that damage and be in P4.
Yeah, and the drivers in front of Bobby Ross are going to take the wave around, I believe. So we should have 4 or 5 cars in the lead lap.
And according to the timing tower, we're going to have the 4 cars on the lead lap, and the rest are not. Adam Thompson in the pits again. I didn't see if he was involved in that incident, but now he's coming out of the pits, showing him down 2 laps in 10th place.
Yeah, I think he was in that incident, but he's going to want to at least get the damage that he suffered when he hit the wall.
He's going on board. Things developed real fast. Yeah, and it looked like he was home free through that, actually, and then got tagged from behind.
I think he got landed on. He was through there, and he'd gotten through that perfectly, and then all of a sudden, car comes down from above.
We see here now an external shot as Adam Thompson dives down to the inside, and then you're absolutely right. Kevin Irwin flying through the air lands on the back of him, and he's gotten through there just fine. You see the lights are out on the pace car now. Bobby Ross taking over command of this race again up here in the first position. Jake Ham going to start alongside him. Josh Clogg at P3, Jake Luther P4. The rest of the cars a lap down or more. So we got a 4-way dogfight here. We're going to come to I believe this is going to be a green-white checker. They're going to be coming to 2 laps to go. So we'll watch very closely to see what kind of start Bobby Ross can get. He's making a little bit of a gap to the pace car now, and the pace car is going to pull into pit lane and see how long he waits. And he's going now. Green flag is in the air. 2 laps to go. A commanding lead on that start there for Bobby Ross. Jake Luther going to fall, Jake Ham going to fall victim there to the 419. And, that 419 is pushing out just a little bit. Sorry, that's the 199 of Josh Clogg. Looks like they maybe...
That is the 419.
You're right.
Clogg and Luther had to get the wave around, so they're at the back of this pack on that restart as we come to the white flag.
You're absolutely right. My eyes deceived me. So taking the white flag now, Bobby Ross only has Jake Ham here for threat, and looks like right now he's definitely got a better command of this track as he's got 3/10 ahead. Coming through the dog leg one last time into turn 3. Maybe see a late move here from Jake Ham as he just cannot get the car to stick. He's going to run that high line. And coming out of turn 4, your winner from West Palm Beach, Florida is Bobby Ross with Jake Ham in P2. And we're going to watch the rest of these cars coming across the line, some lap down cars. And it looks like Jake Luther is going to finish in P4 with Josh Clogg in P3. So a good race there, an exciting finish, green, white, checkered, and fuel strategy really made this a crazy race.
Yeah, fuel strategy benefited Bobby Ross and Jake Ham tremendously, and they look like heroes based on when that caution fell.
So that's 2 oval races that I've seen from this league, and the early pit stop seems to have paid off both times. Bobby Ross, we can hear him over race communications celebrating that he's finally got one done and finally got a win. He and Jake Ham played the strategy just right to come home on top. Bobby Ross, your winner. Jake Ham, P2. Josh Clogg manages to get up to P3 after a P5 start. Jake Luther holds on to P4. Justin Barrera, after starting 11th, comes home P5. Roger Shank, after a really dominant race, just had it all come apart in the last third and comes home 6th. Jeremy Barber, who we didn't really see a whole lot of on the broadcast, comes home P7. Tim Cox was in a really good position there to finish P3 and then started having issues with fuel and got involved in that incident at the end. Comes home P8. Chet Duranic didn't quite hit the river, comes home P9. Adam Thompson struggled all race trying to find grip, touching the wall, and comes home P10. Kevin Irwin, as we saw him flying down the front straightaway in a flat spin, comes home P11, and Jimmy Howett had to hang it up early, comes home at P12. Well, Daniel, what a race. And I think we got our winner here for a little bit of an interview. Bobby Ross, I gotta say, I heard you in the race communication saying, I finally did it. I finally got one done. How does it feel, buddy?
Oh my gosh, Randall, this is amazing, dude. I'm shaking right now because it's like I've been trying so hard with this league, and I finally get a win. First off, I want to apologize to Jimmy Howett for that incident on going to turn 1 early on in the race. The sun blinded my view, and I didn't know where he was exactly until it was far too late. So again, though, my apologies on me on that one.
So we saw you and Jake Ham basically get a free pit stop there at the end. Were you running fuel numbers the whole time? Did you think you were going to be able to make it without a stop if it stayed green?
I was going to have to pit with 4 laps to go. But when the caution came out, I was on my way into the pits. And when I came into the pits, I was sputtering. So to call it close at the end, that's an understatement. That
is incredible. So you had to lip around for a lap of yellow flag, just praying that you weren't going to run out of gas, and eventually made it around. And it was spluttering coming down the pit lane. That's amazing. You cut that perfectly.
Yeah, and then I saw the pileup going into the front stretch. So I was like, okay, just take it easy. And but just a phenomenal racing at the beginning with I'm sorry, my mind's drawing a blank right here because I was racing really hard with the one gentleman along with Jimmy Howett at the beginning. Shout out to him. We were racing so hard. And Jake Ham, he helped me a little bit with the strategy tonight. But yeah, so shout out to him. It's just, oh my gosh, I'm just so happy right now.
Well, why we have you in such a happy state, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out after your victory tonight?
Yes, I would like to give a huge shout out to my mom and my brother, Vicky and Michael Ross. They are my 2 biggest supporters. Secondly, I want to thank Rudy, Rohan, and Shoba of Ricer Racing for allowing me to represent them in this league. They have helped me greatly, both on and off the track IRL. And then secondly, I would like to thank Henry and Jordan Hernandez with Delicious Engines. I certainly gave them a delicious victory tonight.
Well, congratulations again, Bobby, and we look forward to seeing you up here on the top step of the podium again in future races. Congratulations, great race.
Thank you, Randall, and thank you to Slow Motion Broadcasting for always doing phenomenal commentary and broadcasting with all this racing. And again, though, to close off, my apologies to Jimmy Howett. That's on me.
All right, that was your race winner, Bobby Ross. And Daniel, I believe you have our P2 finisher, Jake Ham.
Yeah, here with Jake Ham. Sound like you and Bobby Ross seem to work on your strategy a little bit together. Was that the plan? And he mentioned that he was out of fuel coming to that yellow. How close were you on fuel at the end of that race?
I probably had, I would say, an additional half a lap. So if it would have went green, I think Bobby might have pushed it a little bit too far, which I didn't realize. I didn't realize just until this interview hearing that. So if we would have got that caution, I think he might have just, puttered out, and then I would have been able to get by him there. But we did work together on the drafting and stuff like that. And our pit strategy worked out really well as far as getting into the pits before everybody else. Everybody waited until the end, and had to come in under green. And so we just gained a ton amount of time on people there. So it was great.
Yeah, that was a very well done strategy and benefited a little bit from the luck, but that's racing sometimes.
Yeah.
Anybody you'd like to thank?
Oh, definitely. So XSLR, slow motion broadcasting, hosting. You guys, I love to go back, watch the replays. It's always fun. Bobby for keeping it clean. Thanks to everybody else for wrecking. And obviously, thanks to my wife for letting me have an awesome hobby. So thanks.
That's awesome. Well, congrats on your second place finish there and catching the luck and the cautions at the right time.
Yeah.
And that was your second place finisher, Jake Ham. And I've been looking all over the paddock, and I cannot, for the life of me, find Josh Clogg anywhere. So I think we're going to have to carry on without him. And maybe we'll get his thoughts in a next race. I'm sure we'll see him on the podium again. Daniel, do you have any last thoughts about that race?
Oh man, that race was exciting. The strategy, the late race intrigue with that caution coming out just at the right time for the leaders. That was incredible.
Okay, then I think we're gonna go over some upcoming broadcasts here next Thursday on the 12th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time. We see the return of the MX-5 in the form of the Spec 5 World Tour. They're going to kick off their new season at Road Atlanta, and then next week here again at Phoenix, this time on the infield road course. These same drivers in these same cars are going to try to get that road course tamed and see who can bring home the road trophy here at Phoenix. And I think that's everything for tonight. This has been race 3 of season 5 for the Cross Series League Racing on Slow Motion Broadcasting. I've been joined in the commentary booth by Daniel Hall and Jonathan Grabowski in the production trailer. My name is Randall McGrew, and have a very good night.